And supposedly we are live. So here we go. First, I'm making sure that everything's working because it would appear that nothing is working. Wait a second. Got some. Supposedly we are live. Got some signs of life. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. Seems like it's always this way. All right. So this is New Year, excuse me, Christmas Eve, and I'm not expecting a whole lot today. Uh, but I really wanted to talk about this being Christ's Mass Eve and the attitude that we should be let's at least think about this. Hi, troll. So I know somebody's here. Um, and yeah, just listen in. If you're driving or doing something else, don't take your eyes off the road. All right. Um, I don't think this is a secret, but one of the channels I follow is right now she calls herself Exiled Princess. She's a Muslim who was in New York on 9/11, and she's actually talked about going borderline into hiding just after, well, on that day and for about a month, I think it was after. You should never have to go into hiding because of your faith. All right. Now, everybody knows I'm vaguely Christian, but I also have a little bit of Taoist influence, a little bit of Buddhist influence. Um, I never will start the fight, but by goddamn, I don't care what it takes. I will finish it. Right. Um, by the way, Proud Boys basically embrace that philosophy. Most of the 2A community, well, all the ones I follow anyway, embrace that philosophy. The few that have said something else, I have a tendency to suddenly forget they exist. And yes, I'm looking at you. I know you're going to be in here sooner or later making your snarky little remarks, but anyway, um, God never told us to kill people because they're not Christian or they're not Jewish or they're not something else. Now, this isn't some big coexist speech because you can't coexist with somebody who wants you dead. And every religion, even Jainists, have their extremists. An extremist Jainist will carry a broom and broom the path and sweep Well, that's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Can you guys hear me or see me or anything? Um, because now my train cut derailed pretty hard. Actually, I'm double checking. Man, that is absolutely annoying. I should have known something was up. Okay. My phone says I'm transmitting again, so I'm just going to continue on. Thank you, Troll. Thank you, DM. Okay, I'm going to start this from the top, guys. Um, God never told us go kill people because they don't believe in me. All right. In my own faith, while the fundamental basis is Christian, as in a man died so that the rest of us could eventually speak to God. Um, I have a lot of influences from other religions, like Taoism. You notice how often I talk about what is practical versus what you'd like to believe. Um, I've said it myself. I don't actually like the idea of mandatory carry. I just recognize that that is the real practical response. You can't make the river flow backwards. Uh, what was it he said? By the way, Tao was never actually a, that's not his name, by the way, was never actually a religious leader. He was a philosophical leader. I'm pretty sure that if he had lived long enough to see his observations on the universe turn into a religion, he'd have been mad. A little bit of Buddhist influence. Buddhism never says you cannot kill under any circumstances. All right. And it never says you cannot hurt people under any circumstances, even more so. The Dalai Lama himself said if somebody is breaking into your house and he means to kill you, you would be right and proper to shoot him with your own gun. Now, he went on to say some more about it shoot him in the leg, which is not practical. Um, but the Dalai Lama himself said, yeah, you have a right to defend your own life. Every religion has their extremists. Uh, I'm going to pick on Jainists a little bit. Extremists would be the kind that carry the broom and sweep the deck in front of them, all right, versus people like me don't push a man to violence who's been looking for an excuse to use it, all right. I've been down with this sickness since the 90s. Most people don't realize this. That's why I went in the military to go to war. I went into the Coast Guard to go to war. It didn't happen that way. I'm okay with that, sort of. Um, and you can't judge a group by a few of their extremists. You judge the extremists. And I also believe in the brazen bull, so just saying. I want to bring back the brazen bull. I know I'm an extremist now, and I'm okay with that. Um, I would never ask somebody to convert. Toads, I see the stream crashed. You're right, but it wasn't your end; it was mine. That'll be a rant for another day. Um, I would never ask somebody to convert. If they choose to do that, it's entirely up to them. They can make that decision for themselves if they're an adult. Um, I would never force somebody to convert. Y'all know, well, you all have seen Fix's, at least one of Fix's videos by now, like the big one. Um, and I am allowed to talk about this a little bit. She was forced to convert in the 90s, I think it was, when the Taliban came to power in Afghanistan. Her village was all Buddhist, Chinese descendants, and they were given a choice: convert or we're going to kill you all. Hi, Tex. Good to see you again, bro. I'm sorry. Good to see you again, brother. Um, I saw your comment on Instagram and I fully understand. Okay, good morning. I can't stay, but wanted to support you and Merry Christmas to you too. Um, that's actually the subject at hand today. So if you can listen in, that would be good. Um, I also have this other fear related to religions and extremists. Extremists have a tendency to gain power. The same mentality that made you an extremist makes you prone to violence. All right. That's why Jainist extremists are very, very rare. The ability to gain the mental willingness to use violence leads to the gaining of power, and then what happens? Well, I tell you, it leads to abuses. Um, I saw a chapel that had a couple of extremism also has scales, of course. But this particular chapel, one woman thought that she knew more about the true faith than everybody else combined, and she would not shut up. After about a year, the congregation was reduced by about 50%. Total convert to anything. I'm vaguely Christian. I wouldn't convert to something else. I would also not ask a Jainist or a Buddhist or a Muslim to convert to Christianity. I just won't do it. The door is open if they want to, but I'm not going to shove them through it. Um, and getting to that. Right now, we see the Catholic faith having two extremists in a row, having become the new pope. And I don't like either one of them. All right. They're both worthless. Those who gain power by their extremist mentalities are not going to stop until every abuse has been explored. This has happened every time in the past that I know of. When the abuse becomes the policy, when the abuse becomes the norm, it's time to start saying, what am I doing here? Or what are you doing here, maybe? Um, and leave or force the system to change. I would love to see the Cardinal of College of Cardinals pull the new pope into a private meeting one day and say, we need to have a real long, hard discussion about how long you're going to stay here, which is another 30 seconds. They're not going to do that because it's not the way that works, unfortunately. Um, it kind of, they made the choice and they know it. Um, If there's no other option, you're stuck with this one choice forever. All right. Fix was forced to be a Muslim, whether she wanted to or not, because they had taken every other option away. I don't even like people who talk about a single party system in the United States. Now, I know they do that in China and Russia, not so much Russia anymore, Iran. Yes, I pick on Iran again. Um, and a lot of other countries. Most people don't realize this. I walked away from the Republicans back in the 90s. And now here I am. I have to walk away from the Democrats because it's become two abusive houses. Where am I supposed to go? I'll go sleep in my car. I've done it before, literally. Um, with no other choice, you're stuck with whatever abuse happens to be in vogue right now. Abuses of power and abuses of the system was how Martin Luther ended up becoming the founder of Protestantism. He's watching people do these things they shouldn't be doing and getting away with it because they're the only power. Options and power. No, this is not going to be a big coexist speech because you can't coexist with people who want you dead. And jihadists, Satanists, and the other extremists, they want you dead. That's it. If you are wise, you're going to cut your extremists out on your own. That chapel I was talking about a couple of minutes ago, the chaplain was not wise because this lady had been there for years and she was knew everybody and everything, and she used the opportunity of the new chaplain coming in to start her little rant. Total says the government is forcing Americans to convert to COVIDiots. Well, I guess I'm a rebel then. All right. I'll put that Fire Eagle, whatever they call it, on my car. And if you don't like it, you can smash my window in. Wouldn't recommend it, but you can try. Correction, you'll succeed. Be the last bad choice you make in your life. For those of you that don't know, Fire Eagle or something like that was the emblem of the Rebel Alliance in Star Wars. Just saying. Um, and I've always been kind of a malcontent, so that doesn't help me any. If you're wise, you're going to cut the extremists out. But if the extremists have all the power because they're the only option, that's going to be a much harder battle. And if you don't believe me, just look at all of World War II's European theater. Look at Japan's, or look at the Pacific theater in World War II as well. In both countries, there was literally only one option. You either join the um, Bavarian party, which I can't really say on YouTube because I'll get in trouble. I usually don't care, but today maybe a little bit. Or you join the imperialist party in Japan, or you're going to find yourself at best ostracized in the community. I am not ignoring you guys. I am looking up a name because I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. USCGC U.S. Coast Guard Cutter Eagle. Salute. Should have done this before. All right, I'm going to do the best I can with what I got here because I'm not going to find it. August Landsmeyer is a name you should all know, but you don't because I can't pronounce it for shit. Go onto Google and Google the words "the man who refused to give the Bavarian salute." It's an infamous picture. No, that's not fair. It's a very famous picture. This gentleman refused to salute on the occasion of the launching of Horst Wessel. She was a three-mast training ship built for the German Navy during leading up to World War II to train cadets on seamanship. He ended up in a, quote, disciplinary battalion on the Eastern Front. I don't even know if they ever found his body. His wife died in a concentration camp. I don't think she actually was sent to a death camp. I believe she was sent to a concentration camp. That is what a single option system always produces. Now, I'm saying this, there is no exception to the rule. Or if there is, you better show it to me because I've never heard of it. Coates brings up the government is forcing Americans to convert to COVIDiots. Oh, because that's your only option. I'm not going to take the vaccine and I'll never fly on a plane again. I don't like flying anyway. Well, what's the loss? Um, I'm not going to take the vaccine, so I may never be allowed on a train again. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I'll miss a chance to do something with my daughter that I really would have loved to have seen. Unfortunately, I wasn't available that week. Um, that's my big loss. I'll live. I'll have to drive, or maybe I'll have to walk everywhere for the rest of my life. Hell, I have a bicycle and I usually ride that anyways. Electric motored bicycle, but you know. Um, did I take my car away? Okay, I'll ride my bike. Screw you. I actually like there being more than one religion because if abuses happen, there's a way to resolve it. I refuse to take the vaccine because I refuse to be forced into the one system. Hell, I smoke because I refuse to give it up. Now I'm separated from non-smokers by this big wall. We need the multiple options. I mean, I decided I'll be politically homeless for the rest of my life because I don't trust the Republicans and I don't trust the Democrats. And not for nothing, some of the Republicans are beginning to show, yeah, nothing really changed. We just said what we thought you wanted to hear. Um, hmm. I'm actually beginning to wonder if a real third party isn't necessary. The problem with that third party system is I don't trust the people that will be founding it because what are they going to do? And for those of you that are old enough to remember this, I remember when Ross Perot was running. So I am a little bit ambivalent towards the third party idea. I saw what it did back then. It just gave Clinton the win. that in retrospect we know he should never have had. And I proved that mathematically, so don't give me some shit. Options and power, restrictions, oh, disable. I forgot exactly what Brent's phrase was, but it was great. Okay. Now, this is Christmas Eve. For you extremist Christians out there, you know who you're going to be. You're going to, oh, this isn't really Christmas because Christmas really happened in um, late March, early April. And you're right. Jesus was probably born in late March, early April, when the shepherds are watching their flocks by night. It was moved to enfranchise a series of three pagan groups. I know the first one was German, and the second one I think was Frankish, and then a Gaulish, I think, factions. The Catholic Church took what some people have called cynical position of changing the rules to benefit a few. No, they were willing to make the adapt. They were willing to adapt to bring more people in. Groups that are inclusive tend to grow. Groups that are exclusive tend to shrink. And I'm going to give the Republicans their due. They've gotten a whole lot more inclusive over the last 20 years. And the Democrats just simply haven't. They've gotten more and more, and now even more exclusive. It's going to get to the point where if you don't wear a black shirt that says BLM with your face covered and sunglasses marching in the street every day at 1400 local time, you're going to be out. Oh, and if you're not shouting loud enough, that's where it's eventually headed. And if you dare speak up against them, they'll shoot you in the back of the head through the door of a garage, parking garage. Yes, I've seen that video. Don't tell me who brought the violence. Man was just walking down the street, for God's sakes. um, a point of order to MSN, I think it was. That was not a sniper, that was an ambush. Just saying, guys. Come on. Extremism always burns itself out, but not before it can do a lot of damage. And when I say a lot of damage, I don't just mean, you know, wheels, nails in a parking lot. I don't mean buildings burnt to the ground with something spray painted in the parking lot saying, bet you'll stay closed now. I mean bodies stacked up. I know some people don't like me saying this, but yes, the Holocaust happened and it was a lot worse than the official record says. The uh, the photos you see, those were not manipulated. All right, those stacks of bodies are real. I had the I knew a gentleman once upon a time. He was he was a racist asshole and nothing else. Um, he was also one of the soldiers that was down at the death camps. Was he a death camp or just a concentration camp? I don't remember. I know he said Auschwitz, but people often say Auschwitz when they mean Birkenau. Um, he saw the bodies and he would actually say, and they had it coming to them, or and they deserved it. This is a guy who's cheering about what happened. Flag on the play. This was the 80s, back before the revisionist history started taking real hold. Well, we know it happened when somebody's literally cheering it 20, 40 years later. He was happy to be seeing all this. He was also probably happy to die of that heart attack 10 years later. God knows, God knows few people deserved it more. Um, we're also seeing that the extremist factions are starting to disintegrate amongst themselves. And I am talking about BLM and Antifa now, specifically. BLM has actually been turned on, so excuse me. Well, Joe Biden's refusing to meet with them. I'm just saying. They were very useful idiots for the last 4 years and nothing more. Antifa is turning on each other, not as badly as they could be, but you're starting to see real rifts form within the the faithful. If you don't show up, or if you're not woke enough, or whatever, they're gonna maybe start distancing themselves until suddenly somebody makes a vague allegation, and all of a sudden, you're the bad guy too. And that's the truth. That has always been the truth. I can testify to this one personally. When I was married, uh, obviously we had kids, and some of those kids needed car seats. Okay. My now ex-wife found a specialist, somebody who literally studied these things for a living. She could, from a quarter of a mile away, and I'm kidding you not, not only identify if a car seat was good or bad, but if it was installed correctly. Last year, um, after the George Floyd incident, I can come back to that later. She started protesting with BLM. Yeah, I think she was with BLM. Or maybe she was just general protester. She knew I had left Oregon. I'd left 2 years early, 3 years earlier. Um, and when I mean left, I mean closed up the final door, and this is all over now. She actually asked, "Where have you been?" Um, I've been in Colorado. Where do you think I've been? Now, a little bit more about that is this was Floyd protests specifically. No, no, no. This was before Floyd. It's 2019. This must have been just generally anti. Oh, anti travel Muslim travel ban, and let's be honest, Rudy just came out and said it. We took the word Muslim out and put something that we could support in. And Donnie's attitude towards Muslims is not uh, in any way kind, right? He hates them. Okay, yeah, that's unfortunate, but okay. It's actually very interesting because one of his biggest defenders is Muslim. A little bit of irony there. Oh, this long-term friend now turns on me because I'm not showing up to the protests that she's at. I live in another state. Where do you think I've been? And that's the way it always eventually goes down. On the subject of extremism, over that part up. This came in the mail 2 weeks ago. This is from Yehuda Raymer. I apologize for butchering your name, also known as the Pew Pew Jew. I did this specifically because of the extremism. He was informed that he could not put something up on Facebook because it violated community standards. As soon as I heard about that, I actually commented something about, could you save me one? I want it just because Bash's book says I can't have it. Suck at this game. Ooh, cool. And there it is. A menorah with unique characteristics, shall we say. Um, if he still has them, order them. Bash's book says you can't have this. Bash's book is run by wacko uh, conspiracy theory extremists. At least my conspiracy theories are based on something that's plausible and not something that's completely ridiculously batshit. Total says, I just lost a buddy over the pandemic. He is a believer, and needless to say, I am not. um, folks, there's a reason why I skipped the F word here. I know the virus itself is real. That's not even a question of doubt. I now know 5 people out of about 5,000 who have gotten the virus. All right. So this is a real thing. Ooh, 6, I'm sorry. I also know that it's just not even. They were talking about this being a global extinction event, and it's turned into a real persistent nuisance. I've seen pneumonia that is more dangerous than this is. And don't give me anything about we have to flatten the curve. We did that. That's yes, that's the reason we're at the point where we are now. Okay, fine. We flattened the curve back in April and March. We don't need to keep it flat forever. The continued lockdowns, and oh my God, California's bad. Um, okay. Little secret, I have my internet set so that it looks like I'm still in California. I'm actually across the border. The mailing address for my ISP is a California address. So every time I log on, it thinks my internet thinks I'm in California. It's trying to hook me up with California news. So, okay. Well, now I'm looking at what's going on there. The sheep pens, Los Angeles and San Francisco. I think Los Angeles is at 0% ICU capacity, and San Francisco is at, I think it was 12%. The Central Valley was below that magic 15 number. But Northern California, where I came from, and their, fuck you, Gavin attitude is something like 24%, 25% capacity. The only part of Northern California that's not officially above that 20 plus percent is Butte County, because for some reason Butte County is considered part of the extension of the Bay Area. Troll, I'm looking forward to your troll. Wait, what did I just say? Moving on. The people who are telling Gavin to go fuck himself are the only ones doing well. I'm just saying. Yes, there is another wave of pandemic, but the fact of the matter is, when you're more likely to survive this than you are the seasonal flu, there's not much to it. All bark and no bite. There have been people who have died strictly of the seasonal flu, no other underlying conditions, right? I have not actually heard of anybody who died strictly of COVID. That's the truth. Even in Wuhan, where this thing exploded like a nuclear bomb, I still have not heard of anybody who died strictly of the virus. Now, with Wuhan, it's because the Chinese are lying to us left and right. There might be people there who really did die just of this. As the chant goes, China lied, people died. Um, but it is what it is, or that is what it is. In the US, there are no such examples that I've heard of. Oh, 300,000 people have died. No, of the virus. No, they died because there was something else going on. Right? You got a vehicle, let's say, tank is 10% full. Somebody punches a hole in the tank, and all of a sudden you lose 10% of what you had, or 50% of what you had. Somebody siphons fuel off of your tank, whatever it is. That's going to screw you pretty hard. 99% of these people, or is it just 90? I'm sorry, were already terminal or close to terminal anyway. And then they get this one last death blow that they really didn't need. They were, death's door was up ahead and they could see it. And now they get this. I have heard it generously said that maybe as many as 2,000 people died just of the virus. Otherwise healthy, young to middle age adults who got the virus and died anyway. Even in those cases, I'm pretty skeptical. I'm not sure I believe the story. Oh, thank you, Tro Totes, rather. Comorbidity, um, heart conditions, cancer, HIV. Um, I mean, in my case, I have a severe neck injury. Sorry, guys. Um, if this had, when this gets worse, and I'm forced to stay on my back 24/7, what's going to happen? Well, sooner or later, I'm going to get morbidly obese. And I know because that happened to Brent, and he was a weightlifter literally until 2 days before his accident because he was lifting weights 2 days before his accident. Um, he ends up in a medical coma for a year, 6 months, 6 months, excuse me. Um, and I swear to God, the man ballooned out to twice, 2.5 times his real size. What would have happened to him then? Um, Total says, I want to eat every day at the all you can eat buffet, smoke 2 packs a day, zero exercise, but die of COVID 20. Yeah, well, I'm just going to say I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. Um, Although, if you cut number 3 off that list, you could actually eat all day at the all you can eat buffet and smoke a carton a day. And if you're running 10 miles every day, you're not going to die of that either. Um, Troll says, I may need a bigger town. I'm not sure what he means by that. And this ace is denuded of the things I've been using. Oh, okay. I'm up to speed, Troll. Really? You found an ace hardware that is short on inventory? Um, that doesn't sound like ace, but okay. And yeah, you may just need a bigger town. That reminds me, I do have to wrap today up a couple of minutes early because I have to go to Ace myself and basically completely rebuild the toilet today. Hate it. Um, Somebody referred to me. Okay, there is a particular YouTuber I really, really don't like. I don't want anything to do with her at all. She was associated, well, she still is associated with somebody I was okay with for a long time. But I would say um, Amy, not a real name, scares the hell out of me. Somebody one day asked me, why does she scare you so badly? I say, she's an extremist. She is. Um, this little arrogant little shit decided that he was going to call me an extremist in turn. What? If I was an extremist, I would still be a gun control supporter. And I would be a mandatory buyback supporter. And I would be a 20 years for possession of parts supporter. All right. Um, that's an extremist. An extremist would actually be um, in the 2A side, would be the people that say repeal the Hughes Amendment, repeal the NFA, and no more ban on felons in possession of a firearm. And there's literally that guy. I can name him. Totes, nobody broke it. It was 30 years old. It's time for it to be replaced. Rubber, wax, plastic, that all that stuff wears out over time. Um, oh, by the way, don't dump your RV sewage directly into the storm drain. Just saying. Okay. I don't like any extremist, and I'm not a big fan of myself, by the way. This is not a secret. This is not news. I'm not actually the biggest fan of mandatory carry either. That's one of the reasons why I made a point of it to make those exemptions. Granted, that list has gotten pretty long by now. And there's one that if I could find a practical way to cut it out complete. Sorry, guys. If I could find a practical way to cut it out completely, or at least make it so that it could be supported over time, um, I would. I can't do either of the above. Troll says, when I moved in, we had a low flow toilet. Oh, I'm so sorry. Fuck you, Al Gore. Another extremist. It was a prototype of some kind. There are no parts made for it now. Well, this gives you an opportunity to either A, get a high flow toilet that actually works, or maybe B, get a inductor toilet. Those always work. You can't plug an inductor toilet. I gotta get a whole new John. Yep, you do. Sorry, that sucks. I'm just saying an inductor toilet uses less water than a low flow, and you could literally stuff half a cake in the bowl, push the button, and it will go away. Those things are fucking incredible. I can't even believe it. And for those of you that are confused, eductor toilets are the ones that they use on ships. It has an eductor system, which is the thing that makes a vacuum. And I've seen it rip like uh, a pound worth of feces away. It's it's batshit. The only thing I've ever seen them not successfully rip away is paper towels. And then it's got to be more than one or two. You got to really be trying to plug that toilet now. And we all knew who was doing it, and we couldn't prove it. I'm just saying the problem started after one guy shows up, but before I did. Just saying. Um, oh, and they can run off of gray water, so you'd be saving more water anyway. Another example of extremism, environmental extremists. At least I really am a conservationist. I've been a conservationist since I was 5-ish. I'm not an environmentalist. I'm not that stupid, right? I understand that there's a difference between don't clear cut forests just because it's profitable versus clear cut a forest because it's literally a fire danger. There's a tiny little town in Oregon. Um, oh, you, Dallas, Oregon. Yes, Oregon. It's a tiny little town. Used to be called Cynthia, Oregon. And then back in 1848, no, 1860, 1888, the town burned to the ground. right? No one has ever bothered to go back and find out why the town burned to the ground, except this guy. This guy one day just kind of got curious. Where does that old road past the log mill go? I drove out and out and out and out. I drove out about 15 minutes. And I see a nice little spot on the side of the road to park. So I pull over, I get out, and I looked, and holy shit. There's this nice, wide, shallow valley. It's about 5 miles across and a half a mile deep. And it was literally packed with trees. Now, everybody else on Earth looks at that nice, wide, shallow valley and says, "It's so beautiful. I'd love to build a house here." And I looked out and said, "Holy shit, this is a blowtorch." One little fire, and it doesn't even have to be at the far end, it could be right in the middle or something, with the winds pointed the favorable direction. This valley is going to turn into a blowtorch. And by the time these people know that there's a fire coming, it's because the fire has already reached the courthouse. For those of you that remember over the summer when I went up into Oregon, that was one of the places I went. Um, Now, there was no fire there at this particular moment, but Dallas is literally straight up I-5 and across 20 miles. I don't know how it is that that fire bypassed that particular area unless it really was deliberate, which has been speculated at least. That town should have been burnt to the ground and at least half the people killed in the process. The grace of God spared those people. Grace of God and probably mental retardation on the guy responsible for it. I can live with that. Okay, catching up. Troll says, I built a postmodern adjoined outhouse. It's a B word with a hole to poop in. Looks normal, but no flush. Oh, I get it. You used a commode as the seat. We build them for hunting lodges and people with too much money. Do you mean a compost toilet, maybe? Because those are actually pretty good if you can't do better. Papa Carey has one for the lake house, but he won't set it up because it turned out that it had a full septic system installed and ready to go that the previous owner neglected to mention. That's very interesting. Um, there's also in the area uh, um, porta potties, and they're actually maintained. Uh, well, they're there year round. It's just they're not really maintained in winter too closely because half the people are gone. Yeah, Trolls confirming that yes, he means compost toilets. Those actually do work pretty good if you really have to. Um, when I build my own lake house, we're going to have compost toilets out in the North 40, actually, just for me. I can plug up any toilet on Earth except an inductor toilet. I don't know why, but I can do it. And then I use an inductor and boom, it's gone. No, it took my shit. That's impressive. Um, Fair warning, Doctor. Compost toilets are not legal inside of city limits because of blah 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 reason. Oh, excuse me. Um, Sorry. I'm also going to say if you are in a situation where it's use a compost toilet, use an outhouse with no support facilities available, or shit in the street, break the compost toilet out of storage and use it. And I am talking about what I fear will happen next, along the same line as extremists. Okay, gonna come back to the original subject. I think if Jesus were alive right now, first of all, he'd literally walk up to me and smack the shit out of me twice. Once for drill. And I deserve it. Fuck you. Um, I believe he'd walk up to somebody like Exiled or Papa Carey or Fix and say, my blessings unto you, go. Um, yes, he was a hippie. And no, I do not think he would support Donald Trump. I also don't think he would be very pointedly quiet about Joe Biden. You would literally be able to ask him, what do you think about Donald Trump? I have no render unto Caesar. And then, well, what do you think about Joe Biden? Next question, please. Troll says more like an outhouse. Yo, yeah, okay, I'll take it. And Toad says Kerry versus Randy Marsh on the crapper. I'd win. I'm just saying. I have terminally plugged up toilets in the past. Troll says if Jesus was alive, he'd be killed by drone strike. Just saying. No, Brock is not in office anymore. Drone strikes are not the top priority anymore. Um, Now, wait 6 more months and you might be right again. Just saying. Um, but yeah, I now correct me if I'm wrong, but Totes, last week was left with the impression that you're gay, right? Give me a yes or no in the comments. And this is going somewhere very quickly. Um, yeah. Yes. Wow. And by the way, he could have meant that in response to three different things. All of them just wow. Um, I'm going to guess that I know there's a lag in the chat today because well, it's the reason why I have that pinned comment. I may not be able to see the chat today. Yeah, like a minute later, and I'm still not seeing my own test comment. Obviously, it's not working. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing it. By the way, if I don't acknowledge your chat comment today, good chance I just didn't see it. Okay, good. Totes has confirmed what I thought I knew. Card carrying modified homosexual. Jesus would walk up to you and say, okay, so Go home. Have fun. Uh, yeah, I think he would. And I know there's a reference. Uh, I always say it's Mark. Excuse me, Luke, because Luke was a doctor, a professional who some people claim that, well, there was a man who came to Jesus asking for forgiveness for being homosexual. Okay. Jesus says, go and sin no more. And I know that it's easy to assume, make a lot of assumptions. Um, I really do think that Jesus said, okay, you know, go home. It's okay. Um, Troll, I have unpopular opinions too. Highly unpopular opinion of all of the people who actually follow my channel. Uh, and just gonna throw him under the bus. Andy is the only one that should never ever be allowed to have a gun or a knife or brass knuckles because Andy's a fucking retard. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. The man's an idiot. One of the reasons I do the live stream in the morning is because I know he's at work. He's not going to be in the comments trolling. I'm not going to have to sit here and bang on delete that, delete that, delete that 100 times a second. Literally an anti-Andy wall. Um, and unfortunately, I can't ban him for a couple of different reasons. If you get banned on my channel, you really, really did fuck up. At the point where YouTube or Fascist Book or whoever should have acted on their own. I shouldn't even have to flag it. I know the bots work. So don't lie to me. And whatever. Troll says, I followed for the name. I stayed for the charming paranoia. Troll, you're not alone. I'd say that applies to about half the people here. Tote says the Catholic Church thinks straight married sex is a sin, so some people's eyes, everything is a sin. Uh, Troll, that actually only applies to, quote, unnatural acts. And I'm a sinner. All kinds of a sinner. There's a reason why a certain F word is actually my safe word. Yeah, I'm a sodomite. Who knew, right? That's actually one of my lesser sins in life. Troll says, my paranoia doesn't seem so paranoid anymore. I will work on that. I will get back up to that standard you expected me, bro. I actually enjoyed saying that. There are people out there that think that I'm just a raving lunatic, and sometimes I'm one of them. Papa Carey is very much one of them. Not actually a big secret. My old man thinks I'm kind of a raving lunatic, especially when I start talking about the I word. Um, I'm okay with that. And you know what? I am kind of a raving paranoid. Well, no, not raving. Uh, Meandering, easily distracted, not raving. Um, and I am paranoid, and I know that. I believe that America is going to have a terrorist attack probably mid late next year because of timing failures that will make 9/11 look like a practical joke by comparison. Um, um, and by body count and scope, which is ironic because it won't involve many more terrorists than 9/11 did. About twice as many for the counts, which is really good return on investment. Um, I really do believe that Joe Biden knows it's coming, and his win last month, they were absolutely dependent on it. Those of you that remember the rumor, and I want to emphasize it was a rumor, that Hillary Clinton said, if the son of a bitch wins, it's all over. We're done, right? I don't think that this was about exposing any conspiracy, any direct criminal conspiracy that Hillary was involved in about election rigging or Pizzagate or whatever else. I believe that she knew about the 9017 plan and that was the plan. They were going to make sure that they let 9/11 happen on purpose. This time they're going to make sure it happens. And if it requires a few useful idiots, so be it. Hillary lost. They had no chance to do it. Their plan failed. Um, now Joe Biden is going to be the next president. I don't like saying those words. I hate saying those words. It makes me sick to my stomach, but it's done. You got to accept that. All right. Having said that, I think he also is at least vaguely aware of this plan and is going to make sure that everything is done to allow it to happen. I'm going to catch up on chat. Totes agrees with Troll. I assume he means about my paranoia. It's true. Troll says, no, no, no. I'd rather not give 2021. I'd rather 2021 not get ideas. Don't worry, I didn't give them. Totes says, Catholics believe in original sin, meaning you're married, opposite sex parents were offending God by fucking to make you. No, 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 no. And the entire Catholic Church for two 1,005, 1,200 years, 12 or 1,500 years has been very consistent in saying um, procreational sex between a male and a female is a blessing unto God under the auspices of marriage, and that children are a blessing from God. Also, the reason why, for a very, very long time, banned um, they banned abortion and birth control. You get as many children as God gives you, and you have to accept it. Okay. Well, you believe what you want, and that's okay. I don't care. Um, but that has always been the position of the church, and they actually point back to Genesis, um, when God itself says to Adam and Eve, "Be fruitful, go forth, and multiply." God itself told them go behind a bush and fuck like rabbits and make babies. Um, and Troll says, pretty sure my pagan mother didn't care. I'm kind of with your pagan mother there. I, I really don't care. And to be perfectly blunt, Jesus didn't much care either, as long as you weren't hurting anyone. Well, anyone not involved. Um, you all heard about my arrest. My arrest was involved with me and my then girlfriend having sex, and apparently we harmed somebody because excuse me, called the cops because supposedly I was raping her. Just saying. Uh, Total says, explain the concept of immaculate conception. Actually, there's several. The immaculate conception is the idea that God itself impregnated Mary to create Jesus. Pagan traditions have that. Um, I'm I'm sorry, I'm really weak on my Jewish tradition. I don't know if they have anything like that, quite like that, where God itself impregnated a woman on earth. I can certainly say I've never heard of one. Um, but yeah, I mean, uh, Roman religion, Greco-Roman, excuse me, Zeus was literally fucking anything with two legs and a few things without. Um, Hercules, Ares, and one other. Oh, one of the girls were not Aphrodite, but the other one, a huntress, were the children of Zeus and a mortal mother. So that's a very widely understood concept. Um, Troll is making his own 2 cents about immaculate conception. And Troll said something very interesting. Immaculate conception happens occasionally. Child is always male and usually stillborn. I have never heard of this. Troll, I want to hear a lot more about this. I'm pretty sure you have my email, but if you don't, after the live stream, put a put a comment, a link in the comments. I want to see more about that. Um, I'm also going to assume that this is very rare in humans, much more likely, say, in fish or frogs or other um, lesser animals. So this is a new one for me. I really want to hear more. And totes, I'm going to drag you into that one, kicking and screaming if I have to. I do know that science today says that it's conceptually possible. Um, I can't find the quote or link now, but back around 96 or 7, Trisha Ireland, the late former president of National Organization of Women, okay, so brace for impact, said something about breeding out the male from society, and it was conceptually plausible. Um, they actually made a movie about that, and it was not complimentary to Patricia at all. Was it? I think it was Last Man on Earth, Only Man on Earth, something like that, about a man named Hope. Troll says, "Immaculate is okay." I'm caught up. I'm going to wrap this one up in about 12 minutes at half past today because the situation with that toilet, I want to make sure I get, ironically enough, to Ace Hardware before they close for Christmas Eve. Ah, Jesus would smack the shit out of me, and I deserve it. It's, that that's because I'm a horrible, awful, terrible human being, and those were my good qualities. Totes, he would literally put his hand on your shoulder, say, "Go home." Troll, what I know about you, he wouldn't necessarily say, put his hand on his shoulder and say, "Go home," but he would say, "Okay, and what about it? You did that. Give me 10 push-ups." This is also partially because of the God that I believe in, who's like a parent or grandparents, actually, seeing what we're doing and saying, "I've been through this before. And you know what? It is kind of funny to see the children acting like children." Um, uh, Now there's some of us that Jesus would come to earth and say, "No, remember, Jesus was not just some wearing hippie, long haired hippie. He was a nasty, evil little bastard when he had to be. He would actually make me look like a kindly, gentle soul. He literally whipped people. And this is not some little toy like we think of today. This was a nasty, horrible torture weapon, and it was intended to cause death by slow torture, right? It was a leather thong with a knot tied about every foot or so that would flay your skin off. And then they keep whipping you until you died. People could hear the screams of the condemned from up to a mile away through stone walls up to a foot thick, with a hole only about yay big, big enough for light to come in so that the executioner could see what he was doing. It wasn't for your sake, it was so that the executioner could see what he was doing, and they practiced with those things. Now, Jesus probably didn't practice with it, but he at least knew the concepts. And yes, I am talking about the I word and the I word's various friends, like Joe and Amala, the former prosecutor from San Francisco. I know what she is, and I can't talk about it here. Someday I will be able to. But if you think she's evil, believe me, you know nothing. You have no idea what the red hobble skirt is capable of. Hi, DM. It's good to see you're still here. I'm going to catch up. Total Control says, "World full of dick-starved chicks." Yeah. Actually, there's an episode of Sliders that was either inspiration for or inspired by the film that I'm talking about. It was a made-for-TV movie. Troll says, "It's a medical issue with the egg. Ovum where meiosis failed. It instead produced an egg, unfertilized but viable." Okay. I have been described as above average intelligence because I can usually figure out something by surrounding context. That is a word I can't figure out, but I'm going to look it up. Unfertilized but viable. That's fascinating. I still want to hear more. DM Foss. Mary was also, it was said to be born without sin. Okay, I did not know that. Troll says they typically take place in young girls drinking contaminated water. I think three survived a term, one lived 10 years and had various congenital issues. Oh, I absolutely believe that. Um, Contaminated water was actually enough for me to catch on to where this was going. And I feel sorry for the three, at least, yeah, um, the at least three that you're referring to. Um, I'm not entirely sure they ever will have children, or if they do, if those children will be ever be viable. Boss says he's been listening while trimming his beard. Yeah. When I'm in a live stream, I'm usually listening while I'm at work, um, which is why I pop in and out a lot. Ironically enough, I'm usually not at work when Mark and Ghost are on, although sometimes I am. So I'm able to sit there and play in the chat a little bit more. Uh, okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up here in about 5 minutes. So, as Ghost would say, time to start sweeping the deck. I'm going to make a challenge to everybody who follows me at all. First of all, if you know how, download the live streams. YouTube took one of mine down from election related issues, and it's gone forever now. That sucks. Second of all, learn to accept others as they really are. Now, or recognize others as they really are, and then accept those that deserve it. And yes, I'm talking about Muslims and Buddhists and Jainists and Zoroastrians and all of the others. If they're not hurting you, oh, and hey, I'm going to go there, homosexuals and Zentradi and just weirdo paranoid uh, ranters like me. If they're not hurting you, and if they're not harming you, and if they're not making you, scaring you and bothering you and making your life very, very difficult, accept they are what they are. Great Sky Troll Anti-Drama says savages. Why, yes, I am. Thank you. Um, because remember, someday you're going to be the one who's um, scaring people and bothering people and making their life very, very difficult. And believe me when I say, when you open the Pandora's box to the extremism, it is really hard. Close that door again. Catching up. Troll, sure, I'll accept people as they are, but I won't tolerate gaslighting. Oh, no, don't. Hell with that. Um, they were, I'll stop. Okay. Um, for the record, I know he's referring to certain other people and ISIS, Antifa, some of the elements of BLM, and of course their parent organizations. The I word and the S word. That's Soros, by the way, just saying. Um, But someday the I word is going to force us to come to a reckoning. And I just hope that it's not in the form of a sum of all fears scenario. Yeah, I said that out loud. Um, because if it becomes sum of all fears, it's going to look like Jericho, only worse. Total Control says, live and let live. Yeah. As somebody who will not live and let you live, you have every obligation to defend yourself. All right. I know Janists will hate this. And oh well, you have an obligation to defend yourself. And if you have to use your fists and feet and kick people in the balls and gouge eyes, you better do it. All right. That's not just an obligation to yourself, that's an obligation to everybody else. Your refusal to defend yourself meant that this guy who meant to hurt you will go on to hurt three more. And at very least, you could have stalled him long enough for those three more to get away. Gouge those eyes. Gouging eyes is a really good one because even this kind of hurts. Now, don't copy my bad examples. Don't do that yourself right now. But even just pushing against your eyes like this, especially this one, um, hurts. That will get their attention. Punch them in the eye, and you will definitely get their attention. Punch them in the nose. They're you won't have their attention anymore. They'll be in too much pain to pay attention. Um, you have an obligation to defend yourself to others as well, not just to yourself. And if they're not hurting you, just ignore it. All right. Think of it like this: you're walking along a path. There's a frog croaking, croaking in the stream. Is the frog hurting you? No. Are you going to kill the frog? Yeah, you can, I suppose, but then you're an asshole. Troll says self-lighting gas-floored parking lot. I think he means torch it all and don't worry about it. There's sometimes you're just going to have to get down with the sickness. I have been down with that sickness since 95 or so, 93 or so. Ooh, yeah, when I was a junior in high school. Don't worry. If I have to, if I have to burn it all to the ground, so be it. We'll start over again and clean up the mess. All right, guys. Like I said, I have a big job I have to do today. I do want to say thank you to everybody who said prayers for Papa Carey. He's up, he's walking around, he's walking really well, actually, for considering what he went through. DM Foss says both eyes are good, but even if you only get one, it causes a sympathetic reaction in the other. I didn't notice just now because I was actually pushing on both eyes, but I'll try that later when I'm off camera. Uh, oh my God. Thank you, Troll. Since the LA riots. That's right. That would be at least what started me down that path. I can't say that word, and I'm sorry, Troll. I, I've 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 got to remove that to protect the stream. Um, it's not because you're lying. It's not because you're wrong. How do I put this? People who defended their own businesses during LA are heroes and legitimately. But I gotta remove that to protect the stream. I'm sorry. Thank you, Totes. I'm just gonna assume that that qualifies as a prayer if you didn't already. Um, ooh, and Troll, I still got it on this side, but you can't see it on the YouTube side. Boss, hope you and everyone has a good Christmas or whatever you do or don't celebrate. If you're a Festivus, go Festivus. Go make a poll. Okay, guys, I gotta wrap it up here. Uh, Merry Christ's Mass for you Christians. Happy holidays for those of you that are not. Um, keep calm and mandatory carry on.